I'm Ronnie from Ronnie's Garage, and I am the technical chairperson for the Southern California region of the Rolls-Royce Owners Club. The cool thing about crazy glue these days is the old days you had to stick a pin in it and go all over the place, and you have to get this on there and then you're all stuck together. Now they just make it so you just screw the cap on. It pokes a hole, and then you unscrew this cap and it's ready to rock. So that's kind of cool. And the crazy glue, a lot of people say, well, that never works for anything, but it does. It's pretty amazing. Let me get oriented here. There we go. The key thing to crazy glue is it's anaerobic. In other words, it does not dry until you get all the air out of it. So I usually put a nice little coat on one side. Try not to drip it all over. And then you stick this thing together and just hold it for a while with pressure.
Why won't the 3M adhesive you were talking about do that?
It doesn't work as well. You'd be surprised.
Stays gooey too long?
I've never had success with it. This stuff always works. See how it kind of oozes out there? That's really what you want to see. I didn't get it all the way out to the end, that's why I didn't hold it. But it only takes maybe a minute, and it's stuck forever. All right, so you look at the back side, it's not perfect, but you're not going to see that. Okay? All right.
So did you do a predetermined length here for the door?
No.
No?
About 11 feet.
Okay.
You trim them to fit. The back doors and the front doors are a little bit different.
So from the floor over your head
in length,
back to the floor.
So I buy it by 100 feet and just cut it into sections and put it in bags so it's easy for me to stock. So there you go. This is how we're going to do it. So basically this is going to come down to what I do is just a rough cut, a little long. Okay. This is going to come down, and as I told you earlier, I use two different pieces of rubber for the two different sections. So I'm going to come down to right about, if you take a look in there with the camera, you can see where the glue line goes around the door hinge and all that. We got to follow that line when we glue it on. I've seen people just follow the windlace down straight, and it doesn't work properly. The door is made to seal against that. You want to seal out the hinges. So I cut the rough length. It should be so this is kind of messy. If you're worried about getting glue all over the car, go ahead and take some masking tape, tape off your areas you don't want to get glue on. I've done this a few times, so hopefully I won't make a mess out of Steve's car. But once the seal has dried, say a day or so, you can go back with Aquasol or turpentine. Turpentine won't hurt your paint normally, and clean off the excess if you make a mess. Gently and patiently. So I usually just I like to make a nice wide swath. Anybody wants to come up and see this, you're welcome to. You're going to want to at least dedicate a couple of hours per door. First of all, normally they don't come apart, come off as clean, as easy. And second of all, you want to take your time so you don't have to redo it.
How much time have you got to work with the glue? How far should you go with one application?
I usually go about a foot in each, a foot or two at a time. It's okay to take your time. It's contact cement, so it has to set up before you put it on there anyways. And you don't need a super whole lot of it, but you got to make sure you get it pretty good in the weird sections where it's not a nice straight line and even.
Does it smell? Is it going to stink up the
Yes.
car?
No, well, it's chemical, so it's going to have a chemical smell. All right, here we go. This is cool. And on a side note, while we're watching this, I'd like to thank, first of all, Steve, who's behind the camera right now, Steve Parafarty, because you enthusiasts wouldn't have these videos if it wasn't for him. And then also Gene, who's right over there with a camera and the Bentley on his shirt, who comes in before every one of these meets and spick and spans this entire shop for me. I really do appreciate that. Well, it's not to your level of perfection, I know, Gene. But if anybody's seen his car, you know it's pretty high, that level of perfection. And obviously, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you try not to touch anything with it, because first of all, you'll get that black goo. It's good to put rubber gloves on, which I didn't, but because inevitably you're going to touch something, and the glue will come off with lacquer thinner. You can use that on your hands, but it might burn you, or the other Aquasol. But once it dries, either you use a chemical to get it off, or it's going to come off with time. And you can see I'm going a little bit further, which is all right. Contact cement has to dry. If you put it on right now and it's wet, it's not going to stick right. It just won't.
Well, how much do you do at one time?
About a foot each direction. It's not my car, so it might just fall off. Who knows?
It's really going to whistle.
When that contact cement tends to dry, it's going to change color a little bit?
It will, see how it's shiny when I'm putting it on?
Yeah.
It'll go flat color. It'll just change its gloss.
So then at that time, it's ready to stick.
Yeah. After you do a couple feet, you'll start to notice how it works, so it'll be easier. But as you can see, I'm not putting a lot on there. I'm just putting a nice thin coat.
So one tube is enough for all the doors and all the rubber?
Yeah, one tube will do a car. Normally. So, I'm going to put some more glue up there.
How much working time, let's say after it turns flat, and it's, how much time can you wait before you have to stick it together?
If you grab a tube, it'll tell you on there. 10, 15 minutes is no problem, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. It's much longer than that. I mean, you got to go out to lunch, you got to have martinis or something.
You don't want to go on a weekend trip, come back and expect it to stick. But if you do that and put another coat on just one side and let it tack up, it'll really be stuck then. It works good. Okay, now we're going to go ahead. And this is the most important corner, so you want it to butt up against this side and the top as nice as you can and stay inside this there's a little lip here that's usually trimmed out in leather. So how far did I go? There we go. Okay. So if you want to take a look at that, you can push in there and anybody can go in there and look at it and see how it fits.
Does not give a time. Just says until tacky.
Okay, until tacky. So it's instantly for me.
Yeah. No, I look pretty tacky.
I know, don't quit my day job, right? All right, so now you can see this part's already stuck and you go, well, okay. So now what I do is I usually go on, about a foot section at a time. This little section right here is a little oddball, but as you can see, let's see here, the body follows it right here. Oh no, here it is. This is where it follows it. No, it goes out to here, that's right. This is where it seals against. And since this is an odd spot, I'm going to put a little bit extra on this, just so I get a full coverage. The nice thing is the backside, the rubber comes out a lot, so if you get a little bit past where you think it should be, it's not a big deal.
Because it's held in that groove, you mean?
Well, you won't see it. The groove is your line, yeah. The front, that's the front side here. That's what I would call the front side.
So this piece that you use from that vendor is not exclusively for Rolls-Royce
No,
design?
not at all.
You just discovered it and said, wow.
Well, yeah, I've done a lot of searching on the internet. I do a lot of that stuff for things that are going to apply. That company is great for weather strips. Also, the channeling inside of here, they have a huge selection of sizes, types. That works great for that. The cat whiskers, or whatever, that's what they call it. It's called the belt line felt. You can, if you take a come around here, you can see, you can get that section in there. See this right here? That's all discolored that the window goes against. They have that in different sizes and types. They have an online catalog, which I recommend you do. Look at the catalog, do your measurements and all that kind of stuff before you call them. I think you can order online now too. And I recommend you get a couple of these brushes, because if you go away from the work, it's junk. These are throwaways. You're not going to be able to reuse it. And they're like a dime each or 25 cents each. So.
You say they're called an acid brush?
That's what they're called, an acid brush. Yeah. The glue generally will cost you about $12 a tube. The rubber, depending on the quantity you buy, will cost you, I don't know, $2, $3 a foot. So it's not a major investment. I don't know what Replacement Seals gets for it, for their door seal kit. And as I said, they're more correct for the originality.